Dog and Mike Johnson. Yes, MJ, right out of the Maple Leafs booth and into the podcast studio, getting set to join Pierre and I to break down an eventful day in the National Hockey League on Tuesday. Jesper Bratt from the New Jersey Devils, our guest. Fantastic interview and some really interesting thoughts from Jesper Bratt on the mental side of the game. You know how much effort this guy puts into making sure that his head is straight? You'll be impressed. Real open discussion with New Jersey Devils forward Jesper Bratt. Got Your Back NHL edition is always brought to you by our proud title sponsors, Kuma Outdoor Gear, where they've got a wide range of gear to fit all your needs, from tents and sleeping bags and travel games, pet products and drinkware. I know that the LeBrun pup has some of those pet products. And boy, do they ever love their new Switchback heated chair as well. The world's first chair heated by Bluetooth technology. They have dual heat zones in the seat and the back. You can micro adjust from your phone. It's crazy. Super comfortable, portable. Kuma gear is available across North America. Go to kumaoutdoorgear.com to find a retailer near you. Gentlemen, that's as busy a day as you'll have in the National Hockey League. What do you got, Johnny?
Shaggy,
what do you got?
You're talking about the Bluetooth heated seat, and I can't help but think of my dad growing up. His seat, you know, when you're like your dad, like he's got his chair where he sits in the TV room. That's his. Yeah. His was like a recliner. You got a picture like 1982, a recliner that had a heated seat component. And it was always a battle to get in there when my dad was away from the house. I'm like, I want the heated seat. You can flip it on, not via Bluetooth, of course, but it just made me think of my dad in that chair watching hockey, kick back, dog on his lap with the heat on his back. Yeah, that's I couldn't help but smile.
You think about the ways you guys could have messed with him with the Bluetooth. You could have been turning it on and off for him.
It's like today, my parents would have no idea what was going on. I'm like, what's happening here? It's broken. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. Trouble.
You know, it's funny. My memory is that my parents were rarely in the same room watching hockey because my mom had to go to a different room to watch her Leafs, where my dad watched the Habs. So we had separate TV viewing every Saturday night in our house. And
wow,
I would visit room to room, take care of mom, take care of dad. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. And which was longer suffering?
My mom, the poor Leafs. I mean,
yeah,
they destroyed her heart many times. Yeah.
Whoever gets the bigger room was ever won the cup more recently. So the Canadians had the big room and the Leafs were the back office.
Yeah, the better TV with the clearer picture, TV, right?
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Well, quite the day in the National Hockey League yesterday, gentlemen. They gave this staggered start, 16 games, frozen frenzy thing a go. Kind of an interesting concept. Although, don't mention that to Derek Lalonde. We'll get to that in just a minute. But I don't know, Johnny, you were actually doing a game, so I don't know how much you were able to consume of the night. So, Pierre, maybe we'll start with you as a guy that I know sits and watches a pile of hockey. What'd you think? Every team in action, staggered starts.
Yeah, the one thing that hits me, because you know I was watching it from Toronto here where I live, is that it was obviously more of an experience meant for the U.S. audience, right? Am I right? Because ESPN had this whole
ESPN built.
And in Canada, didn't really. I mean, hockey fans, I think, were excited, except that unless you had center ice, you basically didn't take part, right? I mean, obviously we have center ice, part of our job. We always have all the games, but I noticed some dissension online on social media for some fans who don't have center ice, you know, don't pay for it, obviously, who felt kind of left out. So that would be number one. I like the concept, but I think I'd rather see it on a weekend, start in the afternoon, and sort of stagger the games out that way than on a Tuesday night.
Yeah. You know what, though? Being down in the States, it was a different kind of experience because absolutely driven by ESPN. They wanted to have something, you know, the first few months of the season, unless you're an avid hockey fan, there aren't a lot of juicy storylines to bite into maybe because, you know, other things are going on. You got baseball, you got NBA opening tip-off, you have football in full swing, you have hockey just starting. I think they wanted something to latch onto to kind of promote, and it got a lot of press. Like the fact that they had it on with all those big sports going on kind of all night on their main networks tells you that they put something into it. So in that sense, for the American audience, it was a bigger deal. And as a player, I mean, I was batting leadoff, right? I did the 6 p.m. game, the first game of the night. As a player going to 6, not so bad. Like you don't feel put out by that. It doesn't mess up your routine that much, or it's 6:30 or 6:45 or 7. Don't talk to Derek Lalonde. But I mean, generally speaking, the stagger starts are not the worst. I thought it was a good idea in a kind of quiet part of the season in America to try to build some interest.
Derek Lalonde, the quote is here. His team starting at 8:23, by the way. Puck drop at 8:23. Quote, absolutely awful. I get it in big picture, but I don't know why our fans who are loyal as can be have to come to the rink for an 8:23 start. My family is not coming. They're staying home because of it. So Derek Lalonde leaning into it. And this was a guy who not so long ago was working for the networks.
He was in the media. Listen, there was always going to be an Eastern Conference team that was slipping late before you got to the Western Conference games and time zone. But, 1 hour, yes, it does sound late, and it does push it back and make it later for family and fans or whatever. But I think you look at the big picture. The effort was a big picture effort, and I think it was but the only other part is this idea that it was a red zone. Like every goal, like it's not a red zone, it's a highlight show.
Yeah.
Right.
It's what the NHL Network does every single night. Like literally, that's what the NHL Network does. Bop around, live look-ins, show replays. But just not on ESPN. But it wasn't like a red zone. We're going to drop in and find the scores before they happen. It was just a replay show.
I will say I had a couple of unsolicited team executives reach out and complain about
Both start times.
And part of the complaint, well, I got to be careful because it was off the record. But basically, one of the things I can share is that this day wasn't really, teams didn't really get a heads up on this as far as this, months ago. It just, they got an email one day saying this is happening.
Interesting.
So that was one of the complaints, but it also shows you, the power of ESPN, I think. And right. When ESPN has an idea and wants to go to the league with it, things happen. And that's, let's be real. That's realistic.
I like when they try new things.
I think the weekend afternoon start would have been better. This is like, I've been out west during the playoffs. I think about the year I followed the Jets to the conference final in 2018, and the Jets in the first or second round had like 8:30, 8:45 p.m. local starts because the TV is trying to make this all work. And often the central time zone teams get hammered the worst on some of those things, but it wasn't just about start times. There were other complaints I heard. Anyway, you're never going to please everyone.
I liked it. As a non-player, I liked it.
Yeah. And I like the fact that they're trying new things. Would have been interesting had the other guys, Sportsnet, had some national games. Maybe you combine it with the idea that you get a whole bunch of Canadian matchups. And as you said, Pierre, they start during the day. Maybe there's a Stanley Cup final rematch game, and then maybe there's some synergy between the two, going back and forth between the studios. Who knows? But a big, giant group effort might have been cool. But I like the fact that they were giving it a go. Okay, guys, let's get to some stuff, other issues happening around the league. Let's deal with Pride Tape right off the top here, Pierre. You've been a loud voice on this right from the start. The National Hockey League releasing its statement, after consultation with both sides and all the stakeholders involved here, they decide to rescind that ban on Pride Tape. And thank goodness they did it. It was the right thing to do. Why did it have to come to that point, Pierre? What got so botched in this process?
Yeah. Where do I start? I mean, listen, Kim Davis has done a lot of good work for the NHL ever since she came on board. From an inclusion perspective and an education perspective, you could really feel her imprints at the National Hockey League. But this is, I think, an example of where, before the league went down this road, why aren't you reaching out to a Brock McGillis or from Alphabet or reach out to You Can Play, reach out to people, in that community and say, here's what we're thinking of doing. And obviously you're going to get quite a reaction, but also you might be surprised. Brock McGillis is a thoughtful guy that understands that, the league is a business and they have the business to run. But the fact that it has to be after the fact that some of these opinions come in and lead to better clarity and better judgment is what's disappointing. And, thank goodness the right thing happened at the end of the day, because it was such an overreach to begin with, to ban Pride Tape and to ban any kind of putting stuff on your equipment or stick for any of the causes. And again, it's the process that is flawed there for sure. And a lot of things led up to it. I mean, Marty Walsh got really hammered the week that all this happened originally because he didn't come out and say anything, as you guys remember, the head of the NHLPA. And I was one of the people hammering him. But one of the things in retrospect that clearly has happened is that he was after it as soon as the backlash started. I think he realized the mistake, and he ignited a series of conversations with the league behind the scenes to get the ball rolling on how can we fix this. And a lot of that was from players reaching out to him and the back and forth. And so those meetings happen. And then you have other things. Travis Dermott having, the courage to put tape on his stick Saturday night. Huge tipping point for sure, because the league was also aware by then that other players were planning this at some point this season, leading up to their respective Pride Night for their team. And then you have something like Scotiabank, a longtime NHL partner, announcing Monday they were donating 5,000 rolls of Pride tape. Like,
yeah,
come on, you think that fell on deaf ears? So all these things added up to the right thing finally happening, but why did it need to happen that way?
Yeah, Johnny, can you give us the perspective from the player for Travis Dermott to do what he did? I mean, this guy's not an NHL superstar. This guy's on a two-way deal. Clearly a man of his convictions. What it must have taken to just go ahead and do it anyway.
Yep, because if you were pick whatever best player in the league you want, and you did it, you're going to be not punished by it. And the punishment that it could be, the worst punishment, like you don't get to play in the NHL anymore. We send you to the minors or we sit you out, which Travis Dermott is part of his existence. So he was willing to, I guess, risk any of that backlash and just do what he felt he wanted to do to support an initiative that he feels very passionately in. And that takes a lot of guts. And I think that is very well respected around the league. But to me, the whole thing is like an unnecessary story. It didn't it doesn't make sense on any level that it went down this way. Yes, they cleaned it up. And yes, Pierre just talked about how they did. Should never have even happened. Like, it seems like, talk to the necessary stakeholders. Wouldn't they have talked to the players before they did this? And if the player's like, I'm doing it anyways. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to suspend 100 players for putting Pride tape on? You're not. So if that was where it was going to go, let's find a better path forward, which is obviously this one. It just seems so unnecessary at the time. And then the overcorrection to do it again, like to clean it up. And it just, no need for it. But I guess specifically the players a little bit of credit, because there was a real sort of undercurrent of a movement, quietly, not publicly, of players saying, I don't care. I'm doing it. Go ahead and do whatever you're going to do. Because they were basically going to call that you can't do, whether it's a fine or a suspension or whatever, to all of us. You can't. It'll be a worse look for the league. So in that sense, I give the players, for Travis Dermott being the head of it, but a lot of players behind the scenes, as Pierre mentioned, saying, we're doing anyways, we don't care.
And lots of players had different things to say about it, but even Connor McDavid, who was careful with his comments, but when pressed about it, would I like it to go back to the way it was? Yeah, I would. He was clear about that. And there were a bunch of players that were very clear about it. Whole thing felt pretty hollow to me, guys, after the announcement was made, the story leaked that there was going to be a ban. And for days and days and days, there wasn't a shred of reporting on what the consequence was going to be. If the NHL was serious about this, we'd have heard about what the consequence was going to be. There never really was. Seems like they could never really wrap their head around that, Pierre. And the whole thing felt hollow to me because of that.
Yeah, when I tried to find that out, it was really, the sense I got was the league was taking a wait and see approach. And we saw what happened. So anyway, I mean, listen, honestly, I don't know if I would have predicted that that this would have resolved itself this quickly, to be quite honest. I mean, I thought it would have taken months and a bunch of players having to stand up, and the fact that it happened this swiftly, I'll take it.
And if I'm not mistaken, guys, I think it says in the rule book you're allowed to use any color tape you want. Like, I think it's the rules. Yeah,
there was some reporting on a little where if you really want to dig down into what the rules actually say. Yeah. Anyways, glad it got rectified. Right. Let's move on. And by the way, let's focus this season on the players who choose to wear Pride tape when they're out there. Let's focus on the players who want to take that stand and send a signal that message is important to them. That's my intention this season, is to focus on the guys who lean into the cause and give less breath, less attention to those who decide not to. Okay, the Edmonton Oilers, gentlemen, that's the first place we got to start here. 7-4 loss last night. I do have to say, they brought way better stuff to the rink last night than they did almost every other night this season. They actually came and played the right way. It was as heavy a game as they'd played. But man, did they ever blow both their feet off in the third period with all kinds of mistakes. So here the Oilers are, 1-4-1 start, 31st in the National Hockey League, second worst goals against average at 4.5, second worst save percentage for a Stanley Cup favorite for so many people. Johnny, if DEFCON 1 is the worst and DEFCON 5 is, we're on alert. What DEFCON are the Oilers at right now?
They're at 2, and it's going quickly. I don't. What just happened there?
What just happened? Why were there balloons through your screen?
I don't know. I don't know. What is going on?
You put a peace sign up and balloons float through your screen?
I've never seen
again.
this before.
There's no way. Do it again.
That's what it is. It is DEFCON 2. I have no.
Well, if you're not watching on YouTube, you got to go take a look at this.
I'm on a laptop right now. I don't do emojis and stuff on my. I don't even know what's happening.
Well, I'm going to try it. Did it do it for me?
Someone's in your computer, buddy.
Oh boy, you got gremlins in your computer, pal.
Anyways, I got DEFCON 2 on my computer right now as well. So it's a serious situation on a lot of fronts. The McDavid injury is almost the least serious of all the stuff going on because he's going to get back, and it's no good that he's not around. But you think about, you mentioned the goals against and the goaltending statistics. They're ugly. Flat out, they're ugly. And that was going to be a concern, and it's proven to be a concern. Not every game, but often enough that it's a problem. They haven't scored a ton 5-on-5, other than last night, even with McDavid in the lineup. You have the Evander Kane sort of rumbling and grumbling about ice time. Connor Brown, their big acquisition, hasn't really fit in. He's been slid down to the third line quickly. There's a lot going on there. And you think about, what is Vegas now? 14 points? And Edmonton's 3. They're 11 points behind Vegas. At what point Vegas, they're gone? Trying to catch 11 points on Vegas is going to be a real challenge. They're 4 or 5 more games, Shoggy, of this. If they're 5 points after 12 games, they're in a battle to make the playoffs. That's how serious it is. And I had them winning the cup. I did as well, Pierre. That's how serious it is. They have a whole bunch of stuff to unpack, and I'm surprised it's gotten away from them like this quickly.
I think all three of us did.
Yeah, no, I definitely did. I chatted with Oilers GM Ken Holland on Monday, and I get it. I mean, you're going to hear what you're going to hear, but he sounded pretty calm to me when we talked about his team start. Obviously, disappointed. That's the first word he used. I mean, he didn't think they'd have one win at this point in the season, but he pointed to a couple of things, and certainly one of them was that where they were offensively a year ago, number one, is not where they are right now, and you would think that on its own, never mind the other issues which may or may not get fixed, but that issue presumably will have positive regression, right? I think we can all agree.
Yes.
The other ones, who knows? I mean, they got to get more saves. I'm not trying to pick on Jack Campbell and Stuart Skinner, but they got to get more saves. But the defensive breakdowns are pretty glaring too. It's like one feeding the other. Those things, I'm not ready to sit here. Ryan knows the team better than you and I, Mike, but I'm not ready to say 100% that there's going to be smooth sailing there. I am ready to tell you that this team's going to fill the net again. That's coming.
Yeah, but they're going to be 33% in the power play? I don't know. That was the greatest all time. Right. What if they go to 27? That's a pretty significant drop. That's a 20% drop of their goals. Yes, there will be regression back to better, but will it regress back to last year, Pierre? I don't know, because last year was sort of a gold standard for that group in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, I guess I meant more 5-on-5.
Yes. Cumulatively, yes, than they have been, but I don't know if they're going to be as good as last year, Ryan. You tell us. You're there.
Yeah.
Was it DEFCON 1++? How what's it feel like?
No, it's not DEFCON 1 yet. And they're doing their best to, present as calm. The players are all, it's early, right? If you're 3 games in, I think that hits. If you're 4 games in, okay, it hits. They're 6 games in now. They're a couple games away from 10% of the season being gone. So it's early. There's no more time for that. And honestly, I think Jay Woodcroft has given players a lot of leash to try and find their game in the early going. It's time to start benching players, flat out. Right. These individual mistakes, guys that are veteran players that are making individual mistakes, it's time for players' ice time to start getting cut when they continue to make mistakes. Because you know what? It means rookies are going to play more and younger players are going to play more. But if The other guys are making mistakes anyway. Who cares? If Evan Bouchard is going to make 2 to 3 bad defensive plays a game that result in goals, you got Philip Broberg sitting there looking for more ice time. It's time for the accountability to smack these guys square in the face.
So what you're saying is Pascal Vincent and Lindy Ruff would have already benched 3 players if they were
100%.
Well, the problem is with McDavid's injury and him not going on LTIR, aren't they just carrying 20 skaters?
Yeah, they were 11-7 last night. And that's all they have. Yeah.
Like, so you want to bench me? You have to send me the money. Like, you don't have another player to put in for me. I mean,
no, I'm not talking about scratching, right. Johnny. They don't have any players to scratch. I'm talking about some in-game accountability.
Yes, right.
Can we talk about this? Can we talk about? I want to hear MJ's take on this. Can we talk about the psychological side of this? I mean, you played in the league a long time. I touched on this with Ryan last week, and I don't know. Like, it's just something I think about a lot with today's pro sports, but. And it's funny, James Duthie and I were talking about this off air before doing insider trading yesterday. He's a big 49ers fan. They
name drop. Hey, Johnny. Pierre talks to James Duthie.
No, but here's the point. I'm going to bring it back to the Oilers. The 49ers crushed the Cowboys 2 weeks ago on a national game that felt like a playoff game, right? The 49ers are 0-2 since then. And one of the things that James and I talked about is, is it real that if you're a player on that team that there's this sort of letdown that, all right, we're the 49ers. Everyone loves us. I'm bringing it to the Oilers because players will always tell you, we don't look up. We don't know what you guys predicted. We don't read anything you guys say or hear what you say, which is complete bullshit because every single player has family, has an agent, has buddies. They all know that they were a popular pick to win the Stanley Cup. And what is the psychological part of that for a team that's never been there before to be that much of a prohibitive favorite? I think it affects you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, the idea you feel a little bit good about yourself and maybe like you're talking the finest margins in the NHL, right? So if you drop 1 or 2% of your focus or your execution, that's enough to even for a good team to stumble. But I guess the flip side would be if you are as good as you think you are, and as we think you are, then that sort of psychological impact, whatever it might be, would not be enough to throw you off, would not be enough to linger long. It would not be enough to cause you to get results that are not on par with where your team's at. So yes, but also no, because if you are that good, if you are a true Stanley Cup contender, you're better than this. And no matter what anyone says, good or bad about you, it shouldn't really impact you that much.
Because you know what's funny? What would you say was the other team that had probably as many Stanley Cup picks as Edmonton?
In the East.
Carolina,
yeah.
Just saying. They're bumbling out of the gates too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, fair point. I mean, they've never had. It's not comfortable for them being a Stanley Cup favorite, and they're getting probably some of it is getting used to that and not thinking about it, just going out there and playing. I think there's probably something to that. The personality.
And this is a crushed beer can league. Yeah. The talent gap in the NHL is a crushed beer can.
All I know is look at the calendar, look at the numbers. It's tricky to make up 10 points, even with 70 games left to play.
Yeah.
If they play the same way the next 6 games, Shaggy, like the math gets sticky. I still think they'll make it. And maybe they don't care if they make it 3rd in the division or 4th or as a wild card or whatever. But the idea that they're going to be up at the top of the conference with Colorado and Vegas looking like they look, that's 2 weeks from sort of not really being part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, the quality of their game was better last night. Evander Kane counterpunched with a Gordie Howe hat trick after the comments that he made the day before. So
all you can do.
He put up, right? He went out there and he put up. I know you talked about the save percentage, and that's fair, Pierre. Jack Campbell's second period was the best period he's played as an Oiler. He was unbelievable in the second period and an entirely wasted performance.
But it's like in the third. I think
but he gave up. They gave up 7.
Yeah. I know.
And they lost. And you're saying, like, if that's the case, he should not have to have a period like that in a game they lose and giving up, 7 total goals.
Guess what, though, Johnny, is how when teams are in the shitter and they're losing games, that they deserve to lose, but then you can tell a team is turning the corner when they start to lose games where you're like, okay, I believe there's a chance they're entering that phase based on the quality of play. We'll see. They got the Rangers, and then they got the Heritage Classic coming up on the weekend, all sans McDavid. So gut check time in Edmonton. Okay, guys, we went a little long on those two elements. So the rest of the pod, we're going to play a little game. Zuby behind the scenes can add in the game show music that we know and love here on the podcast. Is this
Or
match
MJ
game?
can just do whatever he did with his screen earlier. You know.
Yeah, MJ, show us the balloons.
Oh my goodness.
What is going on?
Oh no! I'm gonna have to dig into this. I'm gonna call IT.
Yeah,
after the show here.
you got a serious issue going on with your laptop.
Happening?
We're gonna play fill in. Yeah.
At least it's only balloons that came up when you did that.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows what it could have been? Imagine that. We're going to play fill in the blank or a loose version of it. Doesn't really have any rules. I'm going to say stuff and you guys take turns filling in the blank. Johnny, we will start with you. Jack Hughes. You can kill the music, Zuby. Jack Hughes, co-points leader. He's got 4 and 10 already on the season. How about this? This from the Quizmaster. All 14 points are primary points. And we know the Quizmaster loves those primary points. Based on this start, Jack Hughes will finish with blank number of points this season.
He's going to finish with 111 and 43 goals. He's after Connor McDavid, he's the most dynamic individual skater with the puck in the league. And he plays in a team that plays up tempo with talented players. He's got a trigger man now in Toffoli that can really finish, which he already had. He volume shoots. He puts up almost 4 or 5 shots per game. Pierre, he's one of the best players. He's going to push over 100 for the first time. Almost was there last year, didn't get it. And if McDavid stays hurt, he also might play himself right into the Hart Trophy.
Hart Trophy conversation. I wondered if one of you would go there. P, what do you got?
Well, Mike Johnson's stealing half my brain, which is that,
That means you got nothing left.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he wins at least the Art Ross. At least the Art Ross, if depending on how many games, it doesn't sound too serious with McDavid, but it might be just enough for a guy like Hughes to stay ahead of him in the scoring. We asked Jesper Bratt this, Ryan, but do you think Jack Hughes is motivated at all? That in terms of the media narrative, it feels like everyone is saying Crosby to McDavid, McDavid to Bedard, and no stops in between.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
I don't know about that lineage, but he's motivated by hey, I'm one of the best players in the world. He's got that arrogance that I just love.
Yeah,
he walks around at tiny guy, but he's got a big aura that follows him around, and he should.
I'll fill in the blank for you, Pierre. 120 points. By the way, we did ask Jesper Bratt between the two Hughes brothers, who's got more swagger. He had some great answers and told us an awesome story about what the rookie is doing in the locker room already. So stick around for that interview. It's coming up next.
Be disappointed.
Number 2 pick, Leo Carlsson's development plan. Going to play, limit him to a couple of games a week, cut the ice time back, cut the games played back. He's on a strengthening program. Revolutionary stuff here from the Ducks. Johnny, Leo Carlsson's development plan is
innovative and annoying. Because I get trying to do new things and young players, but if he needs that much management, maybe he shouldn't be in the NHL. I don't know. Maybe he should be in Europe again, where you have fewer games and you have more time off and more time to work out like you do in college, like I did in college. You're in the NHL. This load management, which I don't want to creep in the NHL, I find it annoying. And so would he. Leo Carlsson wants to play. He don't want to be out there it's one of my planned day off. I'm riding a 3-game point streak. I'm hot as a pistol. We got a big game.
I don't get to play tonight.
It's my stretch and leg day. I can't play. I get trying something new and thinking long term, innovative and annoying.
I think I like what the Ducks are doing. I spoke with Pat Verbeek about it yesterday, and I didn't have time on Insider Trading to get into all the other things that Verbeek had explained as to give it more context. But basically, they felt that his off season was that he didn't have as much time that he will normally have to train between everything he went through last year, World Championships, playoffs, the combine, the draft, and they were a bit worried that he looked tired at development camp, is what Pat Verbeek said, and so they're trying not to overwhelm him. We should be clear too. You said ice time, Ryan. There's no talk of limiting his ice time when he does play. He's a 20-minute player,
of course. Yeah,
but they're limiting him to 2 games a week for the first 2 months of the year, Verbeek said, and then they're going to reevaluate how he looks. Verbeek wants him to be fresh and to be super impactful in the second half of the year. And Verbeek said he remembers when he was 19, his first year in the NHL, he says he hit a wall halfway through the year. And he just feels that, 18-year-old players, a lot of them aren't strong enough physically to handle the rigors of 82 games. Obviously, people are going to disagree. I mean, we're not used to seeing this in hockey. But I think this is the alternative to just sending him back to Sweden, or I guess he'd be allowed to play in the NHL because he's not a North American player. What they're saying is you get the NHL life, but we're going to bring you along slowly.
It will be interesting if he goes on a bit of a heater, if the team wants to win some games, if the coach is really going to lean into that development plan. You got a big game, division opponent. I'm not sure the standings will matter much to them, but we'll see how much they stick to it.
That's a big part of this too. Let's be real. I mean,
they're in a spot where they can be creative.
Yeah, they can be creative. Pierre, you're more filling in the paragraph as opposed to the blank. So we're going to put the heat on you here. You're going to go first this time. Johnny's following the rules. Of the 3 undefeated teams, Vegas 7-0, Boston 6-0, Colorado 6-0. First time, by the way, that 3 teams have come out of the gate undefeated through 6 games. After 20 games, the best team will be, Pierre?
Colorado. Because I do think that while I think Vegas is a decent shot to repeat, I do think the hangover effect often will come in a month into the season for Cup champions. Colorado is rested. They're eager. I think the Bruins' lack of depth at center eventually catches up. Colorado will have the best record.
Johnny?
Yeah, I think so. I'm with Colorado. Sometimes I think what can drive teams through somewhat like not dog days, but you get into the meat of the schedule. And sometimes, the 3rd and 4 is just like superstars kind of push you through. And what Colorado has more than Vegas is more superstars. They have those. And I think that helps them, in the next little bit.
Joseph Wall, Johnny, will start blank number of games this season. 14 in his career. Stopped 36 of 37, including 14 from Ovechkin in a 4-1 win. The narrative is he's starting to pull that starting job away. How many games?
41. They're going even Steven, right down the middle, and they're going to play the hottest guy down the stretch and into the playoffs. I'm not going to throw away Samsonov's year last year because he had a tough start to the season. It's only been a couple games. But Sheldon Keefe is certainly open to the idea of this being a competition and a merit-based assignment, and he's going to have plenty of merit to get the start. So I'm going to say half for the regular season.
I'll give Wall 50. While I agree the split's probably there in spirit, I think Samsonov has a history of injuries, and Wall sort of ends up with more starts.
Yeah, if you think about that resting thing we just talked about, if Wall's the playoff guy, you don't want him playing 54.
Right. What's the magic number these days with the goalie community?
I think it's 52 and 30. 52 and 30.
Okay.
Craig Anderson, 1-day contract he signs, retires as a Senator. Did you see the opening faceoff?
Awesome.
2 goaltenders. That was, Johnny?
Tremendous goalie union approved. I loved it. I love that they signed him back. I like that they was against Buffalo, a team that he has familiarity with and he's involved with now. I like that his whole family was out there because that's been part of his journey. But I only wish the goalies dug in and tried to win the faceoff. I wanted to see them try to get those big twigs and snap one back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was neat. And, again, first of many neat moments, I think, under new ownership, Michael Landauer, right? I think, boy, I got a lot of Sens fans in my life, and they're pretty darn excited right now.
Maybe a new skill at the All-Star game? Face-off competition between the goalies?
No, we're
onto something here.
We've already tried to see them shoot. No more with the goaltenders doing stuff.
I thought we agreed. Let's just cancel All-Star. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry,
we're just shutting it down.
Yeah.
You wait, Pierre. We're planning a whole special, multiple podcasts
in Toronto.
Around All-Star.
Come on.
No?
I have a cottage. I don't know. It's got to be a way for me not to cover All-Star.
Yeah, just leave town, Pierre. Yeah. Alex Ovechkin becomes the first player ever to 300 power play goals in his career. Bit of a quiz here. Who's second all time?
I mean, you would think Gretz, but it's not because that would be the obvious answer. Would it be Brett Hull?
No, really good answer, but no.
I'm trying to think who's got a ton of goals.
Yeah.
Be Yager, be Hull, be Mess, be Gretz, be Mario, be Mike
Probably
Bossy.
Universally not quite appreciated for the goal scorer that he was in this way.
Is there any way that it's Mike Gartner?
No. Two excellent guesses. I regret to inform you that had either of you gotten it right, your prize would have been a Kuma outdoor gear switchback chair.
With Bluetooth heated seats. I could have given to my dad.
But you both failed. Dave Andrechuk.
I would have.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I knew that. Yeah.
274.
Yeah.
Okay, Nikita
All from the blue
Zadorov.
paint.
Yeah. Absolutely. He scored him the tough way. Nikita Zadorov's comments the other day, if you didn't hear them, Flames off to a tough start. He did a media scrum where he laid down some truth.
We have too many individuals playing by themselves, so I think we got to figure out if we want to play as the team or we want to play as the home guy, whatever. It's Daryl. No, there's no Daryl, so there's no excuses. You know what I mean? You guys don't like hard coaches, you don't like good soft coaches, you don't like good coaches, fair. Like, I mean, it's a new day league. You know, you come up here, you play hard, and you just leave everything on the ice. I think that's how simple it is.
Mike Johnson, if you're a teammate of Zadorov, you are thinking blank.
You talking about me?
Yeah.
And
if you're a teammate of his and listening to that.
No, but if I'm his teammate, I'm like, are you talking about me?
Oh.
You better not be.
Yeah.
Or I'm thinking, who the f- are you to say that about anybody? Just worry about your own game and stop hitting me in the head with your breakout passes and we'll all be okay. Like, that's the sort of nitpicking that starts going on when you feel kind of taken shots at. And Zadorov's a veteran. I'm not saying but okay, the playing as individual, other than being called soft, there's no worse criticism than being selfish in the NHL. And that's what he's calling his teammates. That's not good. And then we're like, you don't like Daryl's not here. Where's your excuse? Well, it doesn't take a genius to walk around the room and say, who didn't like Daryl and who's struggling now? And what is he trying to say about that guy? And whether it's Huberdeau, whether it's young players, whatever, this is the sort of conversation that goes on. It can either be healthy and spur hey, we got to be better. Let's deal with it. Or it can get negative and be sort of splinter and fracture the group, Pierre.
I thought that was the most interesting comment by far, was that Daryl's not here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, that's because that there was
that's pointed. That's direct.
There were a lot of players in that team that couldn't wait to get rid of Daryl Sutter, and that was the debriefing that Don Maloney made, and ends up firing Daryl Sutter after Brad Treliving quits the month before, all the mayhem in Calgary last year. That is unreal, because that kind of reveals to me that maybe there are some players who wanted, a lot of players who probably wanted Daryl Sutter gone, but some who probably didn't. Not all on the same page there. I don't know. It's interesting.
And he thrived under Sutter. If you think about where his game went. Right?
He's the guy that would be I was good under Sutter. Somehow that makes me more resilient. I don't know. It's a conversation that they should have. I don't know if they will. A strong room might have it as a group. A lot of rooms would have it at dinner in different little factions and get a little finger pointy, and then it gets troublesome.
We don't have a gem of the day here on this podcast. I do that on my local podcast. The best thing of the day, Johnny, you saying, stop hitting me in the head with your breakout passes. If we had a gem of the day, that would be the gem of the day. Maybe we need to start.
Who is that guy that, of all your NHL stops, who was that guy who hit you in the head the most on breakout?
Jamie McCowan. Oh my God. If there was an over the glass rule, the guy would have had 10,000 penalty minutes. He was unbelievable. I love that guy, but he had a wide open blade and he didn't care. He's like, this puck's getting out. There was no frills. I'm not looking to make plays. I'm looking to make clears. And Doug Gilmour used to put his glove on the end of his skate blade, on his stick blade, and just skate around I can flag down your passes with my glove now because it's up here. Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, final one, guys. Average attendance in Winnipeg this season, 11,823. 11,136 in attendance for Tuesday night's game against the St. Louis Blues. Darren Dreger sat down with Mark Chipman. That entire interview will be dropped on tsn.ca, I think, today and on SportsCenter as well. So we encourage you to go and listen to what he had to say. Quick got your back edit. Made a mistake. The Darren Dreger Mark Chipman interview drops on Thursday on tsn.ca. Now back to fill in the blank. But Pierre, the situation in Winnipeg surrounding the attendance is...
it's worrisome. I don't think it's alarming. I think it's an important moment for probably that market to acknowledge. I also want to say, though, that there are a lot of people, not just in Winnipeg, but around the league, fans that have bigger things to worry about financially than paying for hockey tickets. And I don't want to get on a long tangent here, but it's one of the reasons why I'm not as convinced as most people that salary cap's going to go up every single year the next 7 years, like a lot of people think. I think we're headed for some interesting, turbulent times in real life. Forget hockey, real life. And because of that, buying hockey tickets, which are expensive, aren't always top of mind for a lot of families. I'm not trying to sound all righteous about this, but it's not just Winnipeg. I think you're going to see this pop up in a bunch of different places this year. I'm pretty confident of that.
Johnny?
I would say predictable, because if you read the tea leaves last year, you saw some softening, and the corporate base, like the way the tickets are sold in Winnipeg are different than some other big markets or Canadian markets, where it's a lot of corporations that prop up, they kind of give them away. They're sold every game. You're selling it to individuals, people that be more inclined if other stuff's going on in the world or their life, like Pierre mentioned, that might be something they pull back on. So predictable, and concerning.
No question. Once again, that interview, Mark Chipman and Darren Dreger on tsn.ca, dropping a little bit later on today. I think the game show went well. We might have to bring that one back. Yeah. Zuby, you can bring the music back in as we wrap up here. Johnny, show us the balloons again.
Let's go. Oh, there they are.
If anybody knows what the hell's going on, send us a note, like at us on Twitter. What if you put up two hands of peace?
I don't know. Could left hands at work too?
You could just put up the middle finger. No, don't do that.
Yeah, what happens if you throw up just a middle finger?
Clean. My computer's clean.
You go thumb out on the bird, hey? That's like the Maverick middle finger.
I think I saw MJ point that finger to a golf ball after missing a birdie putt this summer. But
that does come out occasionally, yes.
There we go. All right, nice job, guys.
French. All right, guys.
Nice job, guys. Johnny, we'll check in with you next week. Lots more on the podcast here. We had a chance to have a good, solid chat, Pierre and I did, with New Jersey Devils forward Jesper Bratt. So, Hard J. We clarified with him. Hard J, Jesper Bratt. Courtesy Kuma Outdoor Gear. Here is that conversation. Drafted in the 6th round in the 2016 NHL draft, number 162 overall, Jesper Bratt joins us. Jesper, of all players that were drafted in that season, though, where do you think you rank in terms of total points? Where would you put yourself of that entire draft class?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, guys. It's a really hard question. I mean, so many great players, and I don't know.
Statistically, though, just pure numbers.
I don't know. I think it's hard. I think it's hard to say. Obviously, probably a first rounder probably wouldn't be too hard to say that I would probably squeeze myself into. But other than that, it's hard. A lot of great players. So I'll leave that up to someone else to try to do that ranking.
I was actually just meaning in terms of statistics that you've put up so far in the league. You're 7th in that entire draft class. You've put up the 7th most points, which is pretty impressive for a 6th rounder. Were you actually at the draft in Buffalo? Did you go?
Yeah, so I was at the draft. I was there with my family and my agent and everything, and I was actually invited to the combine too. And I think it was I don't remember how many players we were that year, but I think it was like 81 players, 82 players at the combine that year. And I was early on getting an invite to go to the combine, and was kind of ranked around the end of the 2nd round or 3rd round pick in that draft, and maybe didn't have the greatest World Juniors or World Championship, the under 18 tournament, and a lot of teams were probably thinking about my size a little bit, that maybe go for a bigger player or something like that. So I think I kind of slipped a little bit, and obviously it was a crazy experience at the draft. I mean, I was probably expecting myself to be in the 2nd, 3rd round, and I feel like I was just waiting, and kind of felt like it was this team forgot about me. It was kind of a weird feeling, but obviously I'm super, super thankful for New Jersey giving me the opportunity to get drafted.
Well, and Jesper, you're really one of the original cast members of this version of this Devils team that's been rebuilt, right? I mean, you and Nico are sort of the original 2 guys that have been part of this build, and all these young players. And obviously last year, we know what happened. Your team surprised a lot of people in terms of the steps that you've taken. What's it like to have been a central character in this team, completely changing over the last several years, and where you guys are at right now?
Yeah, obviously it's crazy to think about it that way. I mean, we both came into the league together. We're young 19 and 18-year-old coming into the league together, and then 7 years later we're the last two guys that is from that team. It's crazy to think about it. Now we're kind of like the maybe not veteran player but more experienced players in the team, and obviously I think for both of us it means a lot that we have had each other over so many years, and we've been going through a lot together with different teams, and a lot of coaches changes, and players have left and players have come, and obviously it's a security for both of us, and a comfort to coming into the rink and knowing we have each other, and we're great friends, and we're obviously getting through a lot together in everyday practices and all that stuff in games, and still being together, and now kind of turning that tough trend around with this team that we had the last couple of years to really becoming like a great organization. I think that means a lot for us to have been a part of that whole journey.
Regardless of where you were drafted, you showed very quickly you were ready for the National Hockey League. Quite often the story with younger players breaking through is that it can be a little bit too much too soon, a bit overwhelming. Sometimes it can hurt their development even a little bit. What do you think it is about you that allowed you to take all that on at such a young age and not necessarily be negatively impacted by doing it so young? Why do you think you were able to handle it?
Well, first of all, I think I had so much experience from I played in Sweden. I played over 2 years pro with men. I was playing with. I didn't only play junior hockey. I came from playing pro hockey for 2 years with older guys. I started understanding what systems and the importance of the defense and all that stuff. I started learning that in early, instead of only playing junior and being one of those guys that score 120 points in junior or something. I get to being one of those two successful teams in pro and seeing what it takes to take responsibility on the ice, being a pro, and all this stuff. So I think once I came into the NHL, I felt extremely ready.
So one of the things about you, if people don't know, is that you spend a lot of time working on the mental end of your game and working with a mental coach in the off season. How long have you been doing that? What has that taught you, and how much has it helped you with your NHL journey?
Oh, it helped me so much. I can't even say how much it helped me. I started with him as soon as after my draft year. I went back to Sweden and played one more year, and after that season, I had a decent season, but nothing spectacular. But I signed my deal with New Jersey, and I felt like to take the next step for me in my career, I needed something like that. I had a great workout coach that I worked with that helped me with the physical point, and I always been a guy that skates a lot in the summer, so I felt like all the physical side I had. I skating a lot. I had great skill on the ice. I started becoming more and more physically strong and all that stuff. And I needed to add something to have a little confident booster, and that was kind of like the summer when I started working with this. I started working with him in the summer before I came to New Jersey, and that kind of changed my whole mentality to kind of see how you can structure out your practices or games or whatever to be more confident, to know what the plan is. And I've been working with him ever since my first year.
So you write in a journal each day, but what's the practical application day to day? So, your next game, for example, what will you take from those experiences and apply during the game day or just before the game, or what areas do you actually implement that?
Well, so obviously, I write it before every game, and it can be very similar. Most games, you go into the same mindset, you go into the same routines and the same mentalities to most games, but you have to understand what made you successful in that game. Was it something that needed to be changed, or do I just have to continue doing this on daily basis? Just because it worked on the first day and maybe slacked all the second, it doesn't mean you have to change too much. There was maybe just something in that preparation that needed a slightly tweak or something, and usually writing it down for me make me remember it and make me actually put a pen to paper, makes me actually want to do it more than just have the thought in my head or write it on my phone or something. I feel like actually for me sitting down and take a brief moment to write down stuff has helped me a lot. And obviously the plan that we have set up together is obviously something that I don't share too much about, because I think that's for him with other clients to talk about, and everyone's working with different people. But I think just finding a person that you trust that makes you a better version of yourself, that you can kind of take day to day to make you feel understand how you can be the best version of yourself each day. And that's something that helped for me.
Jesper, last week, Ryan and I had Mark Scheifele of the Winnipeg Jets on this podcast, and he was pretty open about the relief that he felt. And he said like a big weight was lifted off his shoulders when he finally signed his contract extension last month with the Winnipeg Jets. And I think to your journey here with the Devils, you signed an 8-year deal this summer, but it came after a year in which, a lot of us were wondering why it didn't happen a year before. If you remember, you did the 1-year arbitration award contract. How stressful was that for you for a year, basically betting on yourself and having to wait, I guess, a year before signing your extension?
I don't really honestly think it was that stressful. I think it was just the right thing to do. We went into that summer when I signed a 1-year deal, hoping to get a long-term deal done, but for both parties, it wasn't the right time, and I was very confident that we're gonna make that work no matter what. I was confident in doing a 1-year deal and working harder, and like I said, together with my mentor coach, the plan was already set for me, so I never really stressed out about it. I knew what I wanted. I wanted to stay in Jersey, and I wanted to get that long-term deal one day or another, and I just worked through the process that way. I was never stressed out about it or anything, but at the same time, obviously, when the season came to an end and we went into negotiation, we settled on an 8-year deal. Obviously, I felt a lot of excitement, because now I know that what we built it on last year is just something that I think is going to get better and better, and I want to be a part of a team that can win one or multiple Stanley Cups, and I really have a strong belief and feeling that we were going to do that here, and I want to be part of this journey. So instead of a lot of relief, there was more a lot of excitement, I think.
Jesper, I spoke with Tom Fitzgerald, your GM, last week, and I reached out to him because there were a lot of headlines made that Lindy benched a few guys in the third period last week, including Timo Meier. And one of the things that Tom talked about is that, this is about a team that has higher expectations this year, that, the rebuild is over, and now you guys as a team want to go to another level and be a true cup contender. And so there was a bit of a message there from Lindy. How was that received inside the locker room?
Yeah, obviously we're all extremely high competitors, and all of us want to win. And sometimes stuff happens in the game, or someone just don't have that day when you feel at 100, or sometimes you have other guys that have really good nights that step up, and all of us wants to win, and so does Lindy. We put high expectations on ourselves, and we all knew that sometimes that's the best thing that you can do for the team, to give some other guys good ice time and give some guys a little booster to get up and work a little harder. You saw Timo came out the game after, and he was playing unbelievable hockey, and was a big reason that we won that game in Islanders, just the way he played. So I think we're all just putting high expectation on ourselves, and I think guys, when stuff like that happen, we can oftentimes realize why it happens. And Lindy has been great with communication throughout the whole time, that if we ever have questions about anything like that, his door is always open for an honest discussion what happened, and I think that's what makes a great team.
How are the Hughes brothers similar, and how are they different? Give us a little bit of insight here. What do you think, man? What are you seeing?
Well, they're both very similar when it comes to their confidence, at least. Luke is coming into the locker room first couple of days, and he takes over the ping pong table, and he spends 2 hours a day at that table. So that's basically his. And I feel like myself as a rookie, I didn't come in and steal all the ping pong time from the older guys. So, but obviously they're extremely like hardworking guys. Like they laugh and they always give a big smile in the locker room. But once we get on the ice, like they're extremely hard workers. They want to get better and they want to be dominating players. And I love that about them. And obviously they are. They're pretty similar. I wouldn't say they're too different from each other, really. I guess like we're gonna see them both grow. I feel like Jack was talking a lot and like being like this kind of like superstar in the beginning, and he's calming down a little bit. He's a little more quiet, sophisticated now, even if he has some savage moments on media. So, but they're both awesome guys to be around. They're huge competitors, and I mean they're going to make our team better for a lot of years coming forward.
Yeah. The last thing I was going to say is I feel like Jack too has a bit of a, Connor Bedard's gotten a lot of attention, as he should. I mean, he's a young phenom, and everyone's excited about him being in the NHL now, Jesper. But I wonder deep down, and you can tell me, he's your teammate. I wonder if Jack is like, wait a minute, let's not forget about me here. I'm not done ascending here as a young superstar. I mean, do you think there's any of that in there?
Oh yeah, because I think Jack is just such a big competitor. He wants to be the superstar, and I mean he works for it too. And I think he has that swag and that grit that we need to a team. That's kind of what you need to be at that level. He wants to have the attention. He wants to have the media, and I mean he wants to be a superstar player. So I think we're gonna obviously see more of that going forward. Like you should. You see every game he plays, he's a difference maker for us every time he's on the ice, and I mean, yeah, it's great to see, and I think obviously he's going to get that attention too.
Such a fun group to watch. Jesper, we really appreciate your time. Before we let you go, though, feel like we need to let people get to know you a little bit better here. You up for a little rapid fire? A little getting to know Jesper Bratt rapid fire?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. These are very, very hard-hitting, very important questions, so you might want to brace yourself. 8-day road trip, 4 games. How many suits are you packing?
At least 2. So I would say probably 3. Probably 3 suits.
I asked Drew Doughty that question. He said 1.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of our guys in the team that just brings 1. But at least
just bring the 1.
I would say at least 2 minimum.
At least 2 suits. All right. Different shirts, though, eh? Like 3-4 shirts?
Yeah, different shirts for sure.
Ever go to a movie by yourself? Is that something you do often?
Not nowadays, but in my younger days, in my rookie years here, I used to do it a lot post-practice. Instead of just going home and sit on the couch all day, I sometimes went straight from practice and just crushed a movie in by myself. I thought it was pretty calming and didn't mind it at all.
Should have played more ping pong to fill your time. Apparently, as a rookie,
we got rid of the ping pong table for a few years, and it came back last year. So that's probably why.
Favorite band?
Oof. Not a huge band guy, if I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
Just like a regular Spotify top 100 list. I'm not a huge band guy.
Can you name 3 Taylor Swift songs? It's okay if you can.
Cruel Summer has been going around a little bit lately, I guess. Probably not too many more than that. No, not a huge Taylor Swift fan.
Pierre, can you? You must be able to, P.
If my kids were here, they would name several. I am useless in this department.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Are you good on the ice at chirping? Are you a good chirper out there?
No, I usually never do. I'm a pretty boring guy out there. I just let people chirp me. I usually give them a silent smile or something like that. I usually try to stay away from that.
Funniest teammate?
Ooh, funniest teammate. We have a bunch of guys that are hilarious. I would say Mikey McLeod and Nate Bastian are a deadly couple together. They're hilarious. They always have some great stories. So hopefully to hear those guys on your guys' podcast soon.
Right on. Last one for you. Complete day off. Don't even need to come to the rink. You got 3 meals to take care of. How many are you making yourself? How many are you ordering in? How many are you going out to eat in a restaurant? Like what's your flow on a day off?
Oh, probably definitely going out for coffee and breakfast. That's like
Okay.
a classic for me. Get up in the morning, just put some sweatpants on, go for a little walk, and have a coffee somewhere. Probably come home and chill for a little bit, and maybe order some food then, and then probably going out or cooking for dinner. So I'll probably order or eat out at probably twice at that time.
Yeah, that sounds. I mean, like Pierre, you'd be eating out all three meals, right? If we were NHL guy, like all
Are you
three.
kidding me?
I would say on a practice day when we have lunch and dinner, I probably order food both of those times. So,
but also you guys, I've talked to management guys about this. It's unbelievable. Like you guys can eat three meals a day at the rink. Like you guys have your own chefs and everything now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, we're very, very great taken care of. They do a great job here at the rink, so we're very spoiled with that.
You got your back story for us, Jesper. The name of the podcast is Got Your Back. We love hearing stories from guys and girls about people in their life who had their back or specific stories. What do you got for us?
I don't think I have a specific story, but I think it's just like all of those small times when something has happened in hockey or something, things are not going your way, and you have family that sticks up for you and is there for you if you need them or you need to talk to them, or they take your mind off of hockey. I mean, it's probably the easiest and most simple things that happen. I mean, over a course for a season, and especially since you start playing hockey, there's so many times during a year that things are really tough, and then you need people to be there by your side, and you need someone to talk to, and I mean, make you feel like everything is okay. And I mean, my family it's definitely been a part of that for so many years, and ever since my career started. So not a specific story, because there's just too many times when I needed someone to talk to, or just get your mind off of hockey for a little bit.
Great stuff. Jesper, thanks so much for taking some time, and good luck. Have fun this year.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for having me. Take care.
All right. That'll wrap up the podcast this week. Big thanks for your downloads and your subscriptions. And a thanks to the New Jersey Devils and Jesper Bratt as well. By the way, if you get a chance, go leave us a review over on iTunes. We'd love to hear what you think about the podcast. Make sure you subscribe on all our channels and social media channels as well. We'll chat with you again next week, folks. Have a great finish to the week. Talk soon. Cheers.